your paradise, the place you long for all your life. UNARepublic, manifesting all your dreams. With paradise, your land is home. Writing contracts on your own. Protect your loved ones every day. Knowledge goes a long, long way. University for me. University for me. All right, we are rolling. Let me see what we got going on here. Can you guys see my feed? Yes, 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 yes. We are in the house. Yours truly, Diva Lyri. Yes, 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 yes. Hello. Yeah, welcome, everybody. I'm yours truly, Diva Lyri, with UNA University and UNARepublic. Hello, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I don't know why it seems like something is so different today about my little setup. I don't know what that is, but anyway, welcome. Wait a minute, I'm shining up in the house. Wait a minute. All right. How y'all doing? TikTok. Halo, Monica's in the house. Chris Jordan, the Key, or the KNY app, EO, Percent T Johnson, Johnny. Welcome, my people in YouTube, Yolanda, Posh Lobby, Genesis Jen. Welcome. Y'all in the house. Y'all are ready to go. Okay, so now, first of all, tonight's topic is one that was requested by Posh Lobby. Posh Lobby had this request to speak about the Sybils and the Oracles, so I'm going into it. I want to welcome everybody in TikTok once again, Eves and Jerome, Reverend Arthur, and all my people in YouTube, Sandra L, Yolanda, Posh, Genesis, and everybody else who's watching and refuses to give shout outs and love. Welcome. I love you too. Okay, let's go. All right. Before I get started, listen. We have the UNA beginner law books. They are on the way. They have been delayed. They are coming. So thank you for your patience. For those of y'all who are looking for the law book, we sold out all of them out. So I don't even have not one of them here with me. But when you order it, you're going to get the hierarchy of law chart. You're going to get the vibratory frequency chart. You're going to get the universal law chart, okay, amongst other things, including the book. So make sure you order it. For my people who are wanting the UNA trust package, all right, it comes with your trust documents, all right. It comes with your membership badge and your allodial ID, all right. And it also comes with an education, and we're going to put them on record for you. So you can find the link in the bio to get this, okay? So want to welcome everybody and make sure we get you to go to the link in the bio. For my people who want the book, you can find the link in the bio, or go to UNAUniversity.com. Okay, y'all ready? If you're ready, say yeah. If anybody is ready, I know Posh Lobby is ready. I know that. All right. So we're getting into this thing today. It's called Sybils and Oracles. We're going to talk about the Sybils and Oracles tonight. Women's role in history. All right. Thank you, Jasmine. Welcome. Say okay. Welcome. Okay. So I want to say this before I get started. You all know that we just speak the facts here. And so there are going to be some things that a lot of people are going to disagree with, and that's okay. What I encourage you to do is to share what your research says. Now, if you haven't done any research, then hold your tongue, go do some research, and then come back and let's have an intelligent discussion. All right. We like intelligence here in this room. Everybody viewing has intelligence. If you don't have intelligence, then don't speak, because we're not talking to you here. This is not the room for you. All right. So also, I need to say that there are a lot of lies that we have been told, and it's going to be hard for some of this stuff to be heard. This is why I always encourage you to go and do your own research, all right? Don't believe a word I say. Just go listen to the information. If you've never heard of it before, go do some research and then come back, and then we're going to have an intelligent discussion. Okay, let's go. Sibyls and Oracles, women in history, or women's roles in history. Now, so I need to go back to this, because one of the things that we are not aware of is that this planet originally was a matriarchal construct. Matriarchal, may as in ma meaning mother. And then the patriarchal came in. So patriarchy really is a newer construct, where matriarchy went all the way back. Originally, it was the woman who owned everything, all of the land, all of the riches, all of the knowledge. Everything comes from her. Just like I told you, when we're talking about the X chromosome, everything comes from the feminine. Now, it's not a diss to my brother. It's not saying anything negative about him or anybody else. We're just giving you the facts, all right? So let's understand that the woman was overtaken by the male. And we know that when a people are conquered, then their history is rewritten. Let's be clear on this. When a people are conquered, this goes all the way back. Anytime somebody goes into a territory and they conquer the people of that territory, they're going to rewrite their history. So we're going to go into this as we dive into who the Sibyls and the Oracles were, and why they played such a great role, and why they were written out of their own history. Okay, so we're understanding now that, and again, you go and do your own research, but as we go through this, we're going to speak on etymological proof of women being the rulers in history. We're going to speak on some legal proof and legal documentation showing that everything came through the woman. We're going to speak on some historical documentation. All right. And I'm just making a note. All right. Did I say etymological? All right. We're going to speak on some things. And I've already spoken on the physical and molecular proof about it is the woman that was the original and the originator of the race. One of the things that we also understand is that the man comes from the woman. She was taken over. We're going to go into some, what I always like to get into, universal laws about how we can see that this has happened to the woman and why she's in the place where she is in now and what is about to happen. Okay. So as we understand these things about the original order on this planet was matriarchy. Now we want to recognize what happened at that time and how and why she was taken over, why she was conquered. All right. So according to my research, it was the woman who created the male. The male comes once again from the woman. We see this when we look at molecular structure. Now, if you go back and look in some of the ancient scriptures, you'll see that there were quote unquote gods on the planet, and they had the ability to procreate on their own. Some of us know about the Anunnaki, but there were also other beings on the planet that had the ability to procreate on their own, and they were feminine. When we look at the Bible, if we were to go and look at the earlier writings of the Bible before the names of the gods were taken out, those gods in there were mostly feminine gods. They were feminine or female gods. And not God, no, I notice I didn't use the term goddess. I don't even want to get into that, the difference between God and goddess. But notice I didn't say goddess. I said female or feminine gods. And they had the ability to procreate on their own. Now, when you start talking about some of these gods, you'll hear the term androgynous used. And so we're going to get into that. And thank you so much for the love, Biz. We're going to get into these gods and the androgynous nature of these characters. Okay, so what I want to do now, because this is titled Sybils and Oracles, Women's Roles in History, what I want to do is go into who these Sibyls and Oracles were. We're going to define what a Sibyl and Oracle is. Now, I want to speak on the Bible because the Bible is a construct of scriptures. Now, the Bible comes in 325 AD. So we got that time BC, then we got that 0 time. This is supposedly when Jesus was born. And then we've got AD, for those of y'all who are not familiar with it. So there's BC, and they try to introduce all of these BCE and whatever, but let's just keep it simple. BC, supposedly before Christ, and then this birth of Christ, and then AD, all right, is when the Bible, the first Bible, supposedly came into being. But it is a canonized version of scriptures which were here long before the Bible ever came into being. So these scriptures were written, and then somebody canonized, meaning they're taking certain scriptures. I'm going to take this scripture and this scripture and this scripture, I'm going to put it in here. But the scriptures were around. They're so old, they can't be dated. Now, the question comes into play, where do these scriptures come from? That's the question that we need to start asking. Where did these scriptures come from? And then this is when these terms, Sibyls and Oracles, come into play. I want to take a look at what is the definition for the first one we're going to do is Sibyl. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find the definition for a Sibyl. All right, there it is. Let me move out the way. All right. Sibyl, a woman supposed to possess powers of prophecy, a female soothsayer. 1200 from Old English Sibyl, from Latin Sibylla, from Greek Sibylla, a name for any of several prophetesses consulted by ancient Greeks and Romans. All right. So this was a woman who could foretell the future. She could prophesy. And in a lot of cases, one of the things in my research I found about these Sibyls, see, when you look up the term Sibyl, they're showing you a lot of Albion women. Now, I don't want to make this about race, but let us be clear that history has been whitewashed. And I have to say that every time, because when you go and look up these things, they're showing you images and they're not telling you the truth about who these people were in the past. These were not so-called Albion women. Let's also make this clear. Your Sibyls were people who really, they did not hang with society. They were not women who walked with others. They tended to hang by themselves. They'd be off in the woods, or they have places where there were not a lot of people around. All right. They were also known to, in a lot of cases, be androgynous. All right. Meaning they might look a little strong. I just say it like that. But they had a high knowledge of the laws that govern this dimension. And this gave them the ability to prophesy. Sibyl, a woman who, they say, and they're using these terms, supposed to possess powers of prophecy. They did, because they had knowledge of these laws right here. And one of the things, if you all will go back and check those sessions where I'm talking about the DNA, the X chromosomes, and how women have 2 X chromosomes, one of them they're not tapping into. Well, Sibyls were tapped in. They had access and they had knowledge. So all of this stuff about a supposed possessed, no, they did. All right, let me go into what an oracle is. All right, now when we see oracle, and those of us, we think about oracles, this is great. I love that movie, Matrix. All right, this was the first oracle that we knew from that movie, Matrix. That's who we see as an oracle. That's by right. They got it right in the movie. All right, what is an oracle? Right, an oracle is, and notice these are women. A message from a God expressed by divine inspiration through a priest or priestess. They're saying priestess. Okay. A priest, a feminine being, is the one who was giving this information in answer to a human inquiry, usually requesting some future event, divine announcements. Once again, it was the women who had the knowledge. It was the women who knew these laws. And what happened is she started teaching the son these laws. And so now we're going to go into etymology. And let's understand this term, Mason. And I said it before. Let's go ahead and define that. So let's go ahead and define Mason. When we break it down, you have Ma as in mother, son as an offspring of the mother, Mason. So when we're talking about the Masons and the masonry schools, you're talking about something created by the woman, whereby she's teaching her son the esoteric knowledge and the basis of the information concerning this dimension. I need to go back to the Anunnaki, because I talked to you all about how all of this is cyclical and there's constantly a battle and a fighting. But when you start doing your research and you start reading these different stories, what you're going to find is similarities in the stories. So with the Anunnaki, one of the things that they were having a battle with amongst themselves is that we're creating these beings, but we don't want them to be equal to us. Pay attention. Pay attention to what I'm saying to you. We're creating these beings. We want them to have knowledge and intelligence, and we want them to kind of be like us because we're going to give them tools. And we need them to have hands and fingers so that they can manipulate these tools that we're going to give them. But we don't want them to be intelligent like us. We don't want them to have the knowledge like us. We don't want them to have the longevity that we have. They can't be equal. We need to keep them beneath us. And so we're not going to give them all of our essence. All right. Same thing happened with the woman and the male. Let's be clear on this. The male is in the image of the woman. And I get it. I know I'm going to upset some people. Calm down and relax and go do some research. The male is in the essence. He is the essence of the woman. Do I have my DNA up here? Because then I could pull it up and then show you, but I'm not going into that today. I need to stay on the oracles and the Sibyls. But I'm bringing this up because the way we look at it, and we've been taught in this society, now the woman is subservient to the male. And that's not how it is molecularly, even though, oh, he's stronger. Okay, he comes from her. And the same thing with the Anunnaki. You don't see them anymore because not only did they try to keep the humans subservient to them, but they try to destroy the humans. And in doing so, they destroyed themselves. Now, some of them are still here. Some of them are still here in a different form. You can't recognize them. Thank you, Dees or Des. You can't recognize them, but they're still here. And the thing about the woman is that she did some dirt to the male. She did. And when you start reading in history, and I'm going to give you one in particular, because a lot of men, and I'm going to go into this tonight as well. So let me just finish this statement, and then I'll go into that. When it came down to it, the woman did create the male. She did. And she treated him the same way the Anunnaki wanted to treat the human. He can't be equal to us. And so a lot of people are thinking, well, he is stronger. He was this. No, let's understand this. When it comes down to it, the woman's brain is larger than that of the male's. The woman is going to outlive the male. She has longevity of life. She has higher intelligence. She has a higher spiritual connectivity. It is not saying anything that he can't. I'm telling you what she is. And the problem is that she has forgotten who she is. And so she did dirt to him. And so again, when we start talking about the universal laws, she has to receive the energy that she put out. I've told y'all several times, there is no such thing as a victim. So when we look at women and her subservient nature and how she's subjugated and how she's made a second-class citizen, that's not happenstance. She put that energy out and she's receiving it. So can y'all still see me? Can y'all still hear me? I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you, because it said something about the app stop. All right, so what I'm just saying to you is that this is a situation where there's this battle where, again, the woman was originally ruling. When she was ruling, she was not fully righteous to the male. And as I said again, when you create something, you better create it with love. You better create it such that it's better than you. Because when you don't, you've got to come back in it and you've got to deal with every energy that you put on that being that you created. You're going to have to live in the grave that you dug for somebody else. The Anunnaki are doing that right now. I'm not going into it. One day I'll tell you about who they are, because they're still here. And the women who created these beings that we know of as males, she wasn't righteous when she created them, nor in the treatment that she gave him. And now she's experiencing the energies that she put out on him. That's universal law that I speak about so often. Okay, so let me get into this, because when I first started, I said that when beings are conquered, or when entities are conquered, their history is rewritten. Now, once again, let me go back to this. Those scriptures, they go back so far they cannot be dated. Where they come from? Sibyls and Oracles. Those women who wrote prophecies. And so then what we're talking about, when the males started to take over, in that time, 1000 BC all the way up to 1000 AD, they really took over. Now I want to go over some things in history, because I talked about the Masons. When the mother started teaching her sons this esoteric information, then he eventually was able to take her over with that knowledge. I'm going to say this again. There's so many cycles in this story, so many similarities in the different stories, because it is the melanated people who created the Albion. My Albion people who have studied and they have knowledge, you come from the melanated people. And what happened was, it was the melanated male who started teaching his offspring from the Albion women, how to take over government. And now you see where we are here in the Americas. C. Royal says, why was she not righteous? What woman was not righteous? Okay, thank you, C. Royal. Royalty. Let's go into this then. Thank you for that question. I want you to look up Khalifa, Queen Khalifa, and this is just one of them. There were several of them who did this. It wasn't just her. But when you look into, and you're going to have to dig, by the way, because they want to tell you that Khalifa is some kind of mythological. And I want to remind you that the term mythological does not equate to lie. They're going to put that term mythological on it because there has been information that has been purposely hidden so that you can't really go back and find this. So it's mythological because we really don't know. We really don't have a lot of knowledge. That's because somebody burned it on purpose. It's not a myth. Dig deep. So Khalifa, for those of you who don't know, was an all-female tribe in what we know of today as North America. And Khalifa, they procreated on their own. That's not the only all-female tribe. There also was the Amazon women who were of South America, or what we know of as South America today. And these women, when men in particular, I can't speak about the Amazon women, what they did. I don't have any stories on them, but the stories I have on Khalifa is they had pets that were like, you know, those birds from, what was the movie? The name of the movie is Avatar. You know those birds like on Avatar? Khalifa and her tribe had those kind of birds as pets. And when men would come into their territory, they would feed those birds. They would feed those men to her pets or those birds because they didn't want them in the territory. They're not the only ones who did it, but men would be tortured. There was other stories about how the women of what we know of as North America would sell the boys off to other territories. They would sell them. All right. Or, you know, I haven't read any stories about them trying to kill them, except for in the Bible when they talked about how the Egyptians wanted to kill all the boys. So I'm just saying to you that those are just some of the stories. And remember, a lot of stories concerning the women have been purposely destroyed to destroy knowledge about who the women were in history. All right. So that's one of the things in my research that I found. That's just in the research that I found about the things that women did to men. But when I know these laws, it's clear to me. I don't even have to have the research. I don't even have to have the writings. I see. When I look at molecular structure and I understand that he came from her, and that's the only place he could have come from, that she created him, and I see the energies that she is getting from her creation, she the problem. And I'm going to get into that tonight too. She did this. It's energy coming back on her or all women that was put out on the male. All right. When she gets in order with self, he doesn't have a choice but to straighten up. He doesn't have a choice but to treat her with respect. He doesn't have a choice. You women, as the creator, when you are in your right mind, he's got to straighten up. He doesn't have a choice. So going into that, and if y'all have any questions, let me know. Henry said, come on, Diva. I know, Henry. I know it's tough. I want to know who the Anunnaki are. Maybe I will find out in the universe. Genesis, look up the book of Enki, E-N-K-I, the book of Enki. All right. Henry says, why can't we recognize them? Okay, Henry, one of the things is this. there, everything is a spiritual energy. So when you come back, when I say you come back, all right, because a lot of people say, you don't believe in reincarnation. Okay, that's fine. Listen, as spiritual entities, I've discussed this before, we don't die. We always were, we always will be. The vessel expires. But as a spiritual entity, you got to roll back up in here. And you're going to have baggage that you're carrying. And you're going to have to deal with it as a spiritual entity. Now, what vessel you take on when you come back is going to be determined by the energies you put out when you left. So I'm letting you know that when those beings, according to research and archaeology and history, when those beings created the vessels and then they put all their DNA in it, they got to come back. But they're showing up in a different way. And I don't want to go into that tonight. I'm trying to get through the oracles and the Sibyls, but we'll talk. Stay tuned. I have other sessions. Okay. Let me continue in this because we're understanding, because I got some other visual aids I want to go through. I want to go into more understanding about how women were conquered and how we can see it, how their history was rewritten. So I want to go into some more etymology. The term pharaoh, all right? Pharaoh originally meant the woman's house. The woman's house. So what happened, and I need y'all to be clear on this. Why? Because see, some people are asking, well, why was the man created? Why? What did he was, listen, I know this is going to be upsetting, but he was a sex slave. His job was to procreate and do the heavy lifting. It wasn't a one-to-one to women like it, woman to man. It was not a one-to-one like it is now. It was not that. And if you look at the pharaoh, the term pharaoh, now it just says the big house, but originally it was the woman's house, and he was servicing the women in the house. He was servicing them. It wasn't that they belonged to him, he belonged to them. I need to see, I'm gonna go through this because y'all have heard how they'll tell you the movies are really telling you the truth. They'll say, oh, the movies, they put the stuff in the movies and you really don't understand what's going on. All right. Planet of the Apes. Anybody saw that movie? Planet of the Apes? All right. So that's what happened with melanated people versus the Albion. That's what happened with the male versus the woman. That's what happened with the government versus the people. That's what happened with the Anunnaki versus humans. There's going to be a shift. There's a shift. And so what I'm trying to let you know is that things get changed, things get shifted. And the same thing happened when you're talking about, we look back in Egypt. There were a lot of women pharaohs, and they're not talked about. Let me go into it. Let me pull them up here. Let me see. Here we go. Is that it? Yeah. So let me see if I can. Now, you can pull this down, and I think we have this on one of our sites for you all to be able to pull down. But these are some of the women pharaohs, and I'm going to call them out. Meredith. She was back in this time. So this is your chart. But Meredith was back here. She was a feminine pharaoh. A Neferosubek, right here. Then you had Hatshepsut. Some of y'all have seen people with these names when they change their names to, to their spiritual name. Nefertiti, Tawazret, Cleopatra. All of these were women pharaohs. And what happened is, like when you see the symbols on the walls or what have you, somebody has gone in and chipped away their names in the attempt to bury the fact that there were women who were ruling back then. Hold on. Y'all ever wondered why these characters look so effeminate? You ever wondered? When a people are conquered, the conqueror will rewrite the history and write those who were conquered right out of history. And normally, who are the ones who are conquering? The ones who were originally conquered. Like the men were, again, conquered by the women, which they were created by the women. And then the creation overtook the creator. That's how that happens when the creator is not righteous to its creation. Same thing happens with children. Children who are abused and battered or what have you, they grow up to be a menace. One second. If y'all have any questions, I want you to put them in the comment section. I'm going to answer some questions, and then I'm going to continue with all right, so let me see if I got any questions over here. Henry says, that's true. I saw it. All right. Oh, thank you, Henry. Henry says it's like Wonder Woman from Brooklyn. Okay, so going back to Khalifa and the Khalifa tribe in what's known as North America. The state that we know of as California was named after the Khalifa tribe. And let me make this clear. These were melanated women. I didn't make that clear at first. These were melanated women that the Spaniards came in and they said, oh, look at all these beautiful black women. We're going to name this territory after these black women. Yeah. California was named after Khalifa, the Khalifa tribe. All right. And that movie you all know of as Wonder Woman, it's based on the Khalifa tribe in the islands of Lesbos. There's a territory that was thought to be California that was an island. That's why the old maps you see, they had California as an island. That was the island of Lesbos, and that's where Khalifa and her tribe were. And that is the tribe that California is named after. And those were melanated women. And so were the Amazon women. So if somebody's showing you some images of Amazon women and they are Albion, like what was her name? Xena and all these other movies and whatever. These are based off of melanated folks. Just like, just bringing this up with the whole thing with Lone Ranger. That was based off of a true melanated guy. The Lone Ranger was melanated, but they got to whitewash it. Okay. All right. Do I have any questions before I continue? Do I have any questions? 1 second. Let me see what I got. Thank you all for sharing. I want you to like and share, subscribe on YouTube. Ace says preach. All right, Ace. So who chipped the names away? Thank you, DK. If when you're talking about the hieroglyphics, that were found in Africa or what have you, it would be the male who chipped. Thank you for that question. It would be the male who chipped the name away, because it was the male who was conquering these women, or who didn't want it to be known that there were actually women pharaohs. All right, hold on for a second, because we're going to talk about this. Other hiding of women. The Sphinx. The Sphinx is an image of a feminine god, female. But somebody reconstructed the face and then put other things on it to make it appear to be male. But this was a feminine. This was of a feminine god. All right. So who did that? Who did that? The male did that. And I want to say this too. As far as the nose, now, according to what I have researched and found, is that there were those who started shooting at the nose to hide the fact that, oh, this was a melanated being. That's what my research shows. All right. So that I can see them before I get out of here. All right. DC says facts. All right, thank you, DC. Let me see what's going on over here on YouTube. Why can't we see the Anunnakis now? Okay. The images are upside down. They shouldn't be upside down. Stand on your head, Sandra. No, I'm just kidding. Dr. Wesley Muhammad says the opposite about the Anunnaki and women coming from man. Kel, what is it that is said? Because I don't know who Dr. Wesley is, and women don't come from men. So anybody who's telling you that, I don't care if they're a doctor or a preacher or anything else, you're not getting no male from a woman. Let me rephrase that. You're not getting a woman from a man. Okay, you're not getting the X chromosome from a Y. It's not scientifically possible. It doesn't happen. Henry, you're going to have to stay tuned, friend. Thank you for your question. Let's see. I'm just answering questions. If you have any questions, let me know so that I can get them before I get out. Thank y'all for tuning in. Kay Hal says, ma'am, you're on point. Thank you, Kay. Let's see here. C Royalty says they are on the way. Who on the way? Yes, she was first. C Royalty says, I disagree. What do you disagree with? Is that the unrighteous part? All right, they started fighting each other. That was the punishment. I'm not sure who are they, but okay. C Royalty says with big beaks. You probably was talking about those the birds that Khalifa and her tribe had as pets. And yeah, they would rip the men apart. They would kill them. Okay. I'm just answering questions. If y'all have any questions, let me know before I get out of here. These were matriarchs. Okay, yes. And let me say this concerning matriarchs. This was a planetary-wide order. And I'm going to get into some in North America because I need to go into now parthenogenesis. All right, because one of the things that people don't get or don't understand is that the woman really has right now the ability to procreate on her own. Now, planetary wide, there was women running the planet, and there was a male presence that came in, and now is this whole deal where we are in this whole patriarchal system that is clearly backwards, clearly and out of order. Now, originally, yes, the woman was procreating on her own. And when we talk about the Anunnaki, that's just one of the stories that we have. There was other beings on the planet. And then there's this other talk about, and I don't know if y'all ready for this, but I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to let it go. Y'all going to have to come back so that we can go deeper into this whole thing. But we existed more as ethereal being rather than the physical plane. Or more on a higher dimensional level than this physical plane. And the problem is that we're so stuck in this physical plane and in love with these human vessels, we're not understanding that we are higher ethereal beings. That's it. I'm going to go into that at another time. Let me get back into parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis, let's break it down. Parthen, meaning asexual. O, meaning of. Genesis, meaning creation. Creation of asexual birth. Creation of asexual birth. Parthenogenesis. Now, y'all want to say, well, that don't exist, Diva, but this is the same way every cell in your body procreates. What we call mitosis. And then you got our true ancestor for me, which is the mitochondria. Fission is how she procreates. And for these third dimensional beings, parthenogenesis. What does that mean? And see, I've broken this down before too. The woman has the ability to do it. She doesn't have knowledge of self, so she can't do it. Now, I need y'all to go and look up the Parthenon. Parthenon. That is a place where women used to go in the BC. One second. One second. All right. All right. So the Parthenon is a place where women used to go in the BC so that they can continue to learn how to give birth asexually, because they had started to forget how to do that. Well, who tore that down? Because that was torn down in the AD. Who tore it down? Well, a Christian organization. And I need it to be understood that all religions are patriarchal. All religions. Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, men. And religion was the subjugation of the woman. Because I told you her scriptures were canonized. in this Bible. But what they did was they rewrote her scriptures. And those of y'all know, between 325 and now, there have been so many different versions of the Bible written. If you don't do your research, then you get what you deserve. Because her scriptures were rewritten, and she was written out of her stories. That's why it's called history. His story. So I'm here to tell her story. So you understand, it was the woman who was originally running this game. And she's out of her mind right now. That's why we got this mess. I ain't even blaming him, because he only has the power she gives to him. She problem. I said it. Let me continue. In understanding parthenogenesis, and you got to understand, if parthenogenesis is not real, why we have something called the Parthenon, which is a place where women went to continue to learn how to procreate on their own. So I need y'all to understand, I told you it was taken over by a religious organization, which was a patriarchal organization. Now today, when I say to you that women can give birth on their own, do you know how angry that makes men? Do you know how intimidated and fearful that makes men? So if it's like that today, you can only imagine what it was like then, when women actually used to know how to do it. You look up parthenogenesis before you speak, because if you don't know what it is, and if you don't understand that there are beings on this planet that can do it, then you need to get your knowledge up. And I talked to you all about what the X chromosome is and why there's that dormant X chromosome. And when it turns back on and you tap back in, it's going to be a whole nother story up in here. I know the question is coming. I'm just waiting on it. I know the question is coming. I'm just waiting on it. Thank you, MC Jambo, for the love. Jason, welcome. Welcome, and thank you for following. Christy, we came from Adam and Eve. Christy, do some research, because I'm not going into that. L, thank you for joining. Thank you for the love. Intuitive greetings. In what book? The Wolf. I want you to look up the book of Inky. All right. Look up book of Jasher. Read the left out books. The divine is androgynous. Thank you, I am. Agreed. Intuitive says facts. Thank you, Intuitive Queen. Miami Wata. Yeah, Mammy Wata. Yeah, I know that history about Mammy. I'm not down with that, but Crystal says, so true. We give birth to man and not the other way around. Thank you, Crystal. Jason says correct. Thank you. Not me, honey. I'm a man and I know she's God. Thank you, El. Queen says the first being was a goddess. All right, I need to go into that term, goddess. And it's not a diss, but I need y'all to understand how words have been flipped as well. How do the woman turn back on that dominant gene? All right. So I want to go and I'm going to answer both of those questions and comments. So when we're talking about a goddess, let's take the etymology. All right, we're going into some etymology. Thank you for the love, MC Jumbo. When you're talking about the term E-S-S-E, that means the essence of something. Pay attention to what I'm saying. And again, when I say this, is not to be disrespectful to my brother or any men for that matter. I'm making it clear what these terms are. And I've said this before, this English language is very backwards, and it was made that way on purpose to discombobulate us. And once again, don't nobody be telling me about the white man did it. No, he didn't. The English language comes from melanated people. And I want you to look up Phoenicians, and you'll see the term phonetic, because they were very good at using syllables to put people in contracts. All right. So we're looking at the suffix S, E-S-S-E. It means the essence of something. That means like, here's the whole thing, and then you skim off a piece of it, then that's just the essence. It's not the whole thing. It's just a part of it. It's a piece of it. Now, if we're talking about a God, well, what is the whole God? Because if you're looking at this female being, she got two X's. He got a partial X. He'd be the goddess. She is the God. I just want to make that clear. And again, you go and do your research in etymology. So when you say goddess, you're talking about a piece of a God. That's like saying Jewish. Kind of, sort of, but not really. If she is the creator, then she is the God. She created him. He would be the S. But I'm not going to call my brother the goddess. Listen, I know I'm upsetting some people. I'm not trying to upset you. I'm just giving you the facts, all right? So you take it how you want to take it. But don't call me goddess. That's all I'm saying. I'm not the essence of nothing. I am that. How do women turn back on that dominant gene? All right. Thank you for that question, sweet Jim. So I want y'all to be clear on this, because again, I'm going to upset you. This whole society has got us jacked up and backwards. So be ready, because I'm ready to give it to you. If you don't like the facts and the truth, change the TV, turn the channel, because it's not going to be pretty. But when you're talking about that dominant gene, or when you're talking about walking in spirituality, it is a muscle. It is a muscle. And in order to use a muscle, you got to, or in order to build it rather, in order to build a muscle, you've got to use it. You cannot build a muscle if you're using a crutch. I want to say this with compassion and love, because I don't want anybody to misconstrue anything I'm saying. If you're trying to build the muscle, and then somebody keeps telling you you need to be with a crutch, you need to have somebody outside of you to save you. When somebody keeps telling you somebody else is supposed to be outside of you protecting you, when you the God, when you know who you are, when you in your right mind, you don't need no protection, because none of that energy comes on you in the first place, because you are protected as a God. In order to turn that back on, there's some things that you got to move away from. What you're eating, what you're drinking, who you're hanging around, who you're sexing. If you're sexing, period, you're going to have a hard time tapping in. It is a muscle. And if you're leaning on something outside of you, if all you're concerned about is the flesh, you cannot tap in to spirit, period. And I'm not trying to convince none of y'all to do nothing. I'm telling you what the facts are. So don't come to me and say, well, Diva, what about the dangling thing? Well, we just got to have it. What we's going to do? Do what you feel like you need to do. But when you're ready to tap into spirit and you're ready to get serious about it, then you got to use the muscle. And to build a muscle is not an easy thing, because this society has us all jacked up. Somebody has told us you ain't worth nothing unless you got a man with you. I ain't telling you to have one or not to have one. I'm telling you if you think somebody's supposed to be protecting you and come to rescue you, you can't tap in. You asked me. You can't tap in. And if you're trying to rely on anybody to tell you who you are as a woman, you can't tap in. Any other questions? Thank you for that question, Red Rose. I had her in one of my, because Red Rose asked who is the deity Need. I had her in my, how do you say, my lineage chart, but I can't think of who she is right now off the top of my head. But I had her in there. But I'll definitely look her up, and maybe I'll speak on her and some of the other who she is right now. Look her up, and maybe I'll speak on her and some of the other, because I think she was one of the Anunnaki. I had her in that chart. When I was doing a chart on the Anunnaki. Y'all saying wow. Wow, what you saying wow about? What'd I say? I know, listen. This information is very difficult. And this is difficult. And this is not against anybody. And I need this to be made clear. When it comes to any and all of us, women, men, regardless of your color, all of us are spiritual entities, period. The universe doesn't care about your color, how much money you make, where you come from, your background, none of that. All right. So as spiritual entities, as I said, we don't die. Like one of the guys said, spirit is androgynous. Yes, I agree. So when it comes to the women, if you're trying to tap into that, what I call gift, curious about in the lower, not tapping in the, they're lying to. I said, meaning on what is, so the Y, this is a chromosome, bunch of genes on, you got your X is dormant, and you're constantly leaning on him to help you to prop yourself up. That's the crutch. You got to be willing to tap in. I told you, see, when her other ex, when she taps into that other ex, that woman that he's like, oh, she too much man for him. Or women will say that she's too much man for him. She's tapped in. She's got more genes in her X chromosome when she taps into it than he's got. When she gets tapped in, she doesn't need to lean. And then for my brothers, because I know the questions come, well, what we supposed to do? Listen, get closer to your spirit. I can't even talk to brothers about what you need to do, because I get it. You in a vessel, you put here to do a job, and your job is to spread seed. Also, I recognize that for a male, you need a woman. I'm not saying you can't be without one, but even look at the statistics. See, first of all, you got this chromosome where you don't have all of that, the DNA that a woman has. You're going to be better off paired up. I'm just being honest. So I can't tell you what to do. You got to learn how to tap in the spirit. But for a woman, if you're really trying to tap into that other X chromosome, you got to get serious about tapping into spirit. And that means there's certain things you need to cut out. There's certain things you need to, what you're eating, you need to become disciplined about your vessel. Again, see, women, you can't tap in because, again, you're not in your right mind. Your vessel is jacked up spiritually. You're not even trying to figure out who you are. You got to stop leaning on crutches. I know this is hard for some people to hear. Astro Goddess, please don't come in here with that white, black, we not the same. Those your children, Goddess. You created them. And if you're showing, okay, hold on, let me go back, because Astro Goddess is ready to put herself back in this place again. You're gonna put yourself back in this place again, Astro Goddess. Let me go back to the Anunnaki. Please listen up, melanated folks who keep trying to hate on these Albions. Pay attention. I just told you it was the Anunnaki who created, supposedly, some human vessels. And they purposely made it where those human vessels were supposed to be beneath them and never have intelligence. And they're not supposed to have the same amenities that we have. They are second class. And then what happened to the Albion? The Albion now is in control. And who's on the bottom? Well, it's changing now, Goddess. You're going to get the chance to be on top as a melanated person and as a woman. Do it again. You're going to be back down here. You think you're just going to live this life and then you die and then none of the crap that you put out has to come back? Do it again, Goddess. Go ahead. Because them Albions, they come from you. Those are your creation. You forgot? I'm trying to help you remember. So as soon as you, like, them crackers ain't like us, you know, they need to leave it. Okay, it's gonna come back around, Goddess. Show love. Always. Somebody has us fighting against each other. I need y'all to understand something. Because there are beings who are hiding behind the so-called Albions. They're hiding. They might look like them, but they're not them. And as long as they can keep melanated people and Albions fighting, then we're going to do this. And meanwhile, they stand in the background, puppet mastering over this whole thing. Meanwhile, you keep fighting the creation of yours, and it's going to keep taking you over and putting you back in the same place where you came from. Don't do it. I'm telling you all, if y'all with this racist crap, y'all better stop. Because, again, spirits do not care. The universe doesn't care about your skin color, the texture of your hair, none of that. Keep doing it. Keep on. I just told you. I'm going to break this down again. And if you're not paying attention, then good luck. The Anunnaki created the humans. The humans took them over. They still here. They just in another form. Woman created the man. Man took her over. He was a sex slave to her first, and she became his sex slave with that thing y'all call marriage. Marriage was the woman becoming the property of the man. That's why she takes on his last name. But y'all have glamorized this prison called marriage. Y'all glamorized it. All right. Melanated people created the Albion. And then the Albion took the melanated people over. Well, how did that happen? Well, you got melanated people teaching their Albion offspring how to take over law. All right. Then you got the people created government. Now you got government controlling the people. And did the people treat government bad? Yes, they did. Government, especially your federal people, they used to not get paid anything. They were mistreated and abused and all this other stuff. Well, government is now taking over the people. Y'all not getting this? All this is a cycle. If you're going to create something, make sure you show it love, because you got to come back in it. Man is the mutation of the woman. Thank you, Elle. Stephanie says, say it. Okay. Thank you, Onyx, for joining. Gratitude. Thank you, Onyx. Have you spoken on Namu? Namu. No. Haven't spoken on Namu. Thank you for that. I'll check it out. Fresh King says, tapping it has nothing to do with disrespect. Okay. Jerry, why create the man if you don't need the man? Jerry, the woman, just the same way the Anunnaki created the human. Men were needed because there was things women didn't want to do. When the Anunnaki came here, for example, according to historical documentation or the Book of Enki, all the other books are talking about the Anunnaki, they came here because they needed the gold. But this planet was too hot for them. They couldn't take it. And the other second-class beings that they brought to the planet had revolted, and they was like, we not gonna do this no more. And so what ended up happening was they created these human vessels that they never expected to be intelligent. All right? They never wanted them to be intelligent. And so what happened was they created the beings, and the beings were there to do the work. That's why when you look at these cathedrals, and even when you go to Samaria, which is modern day Iraq, they got the Anunnaki, and the people used to serve the Anunnaki in these things called cathedrals. Well, that's where they went to do the work. They worked there, not worship. They worked. Worship is what they did in these cathedrals for these supposed gods, which were Anunnaki. But they needed them to do the work. All right, women didn't want to do the work. So get a man and degrade. When you look at that X chromosome versus the Y chromosome, look, it's degraded. That Y chromosome has 1,300 genes missing. It's degraded because we don't want them to have longevity of life. We don't want them to be as intelligent as we are. We don't want them to be as spiritually connected as we are. We don't. When you do that, when you degrade the being or the creation, you degrade yourself, because you got to come back in that creation. All right. So then you get men coming in here, and the woman is treating them like a second-class citizen, because again, he never was supposed to have all of the knowledge. He wasn't supposed to have the esoteric information about how this dimension is run. And then with the invent of masonry schools, she's teaching him all of that esoteric knowledge. Well, now he understands how to write her out of history, how to take her over, because I understand words. I understand the power of syllables. I understand that in the beginning there was the word, and so now I got that. I know how to write her out of her history and take it over. That's what he did. So he was created because he wasn't needed, because there was things she wanted done. But in her creation, she was purposely being disrespectful to him. In her creation, he was a second-class citizen, the same way melanated people did the Albion, and they took over. The same way the people did the government, and they took over. It's, again, when you create something, make sure you do it with love. Who has any other questions before I get out of here? Okay, thank you, Elmer. What about man creating AI? You think you think AI won't take over? You already know it. AI is more intelligent. Now, whenever you're dealing with AI, you better show AI love. You think AI can't feel? All right, let me get into this now. So we understand about Khalifa and the Amazon women. We understand about parthenogenesis and women's ability to procreate on their own. Even now, when we're talking about that other X chromosome, why would they, and I'm going to say this again, why would they make a movie called X-Men when X always represents the feminine? And even if you look at that movie, and again, in these movies, they're going to tell you, the truth. You notice in the X-Men, who is the most powerful, quote unquote, X-Men? Which one is the most powerful? Which one? Somebody tell me. Diva, in this ignorance of the men who everywhere you got the programming, is they were here first, the men. Is this ignorance of the men who everywhere you got the programming, is they were men first, the men. Okay, I'm not sure if I understand that full question, but let me just say it like this. When you trying to deal with this issue, you got to go back to the beginning. Where did all of this start? All of it started with the woman. Or you can say the Anunnaki. We can't get to them, but women, we can surely get to you. When you're in your right mind, again, I say this because a lot of people don't recognize that this really is a spiritual place, and it's very, very magical when you really understand who you are and the fact that you are creating this dimension. You are creating your third dimension. Now, when it comes to women, all right, when you are in your right mind, then everything around you has to clean up. I don't get into a lot about telling him he need to do this and he need to do what. We just need to get ourselves straight. Why? Because, okay, let's look at this. I always go to this. When people be talking about my baby daddy, my baby, look, there's not going to be a baby daddy when you in your right mind. The only way there's a baby daddy is if the woman says yes. If she spreads her legs and says yes and allows him to plant seed, then he's a baby daddy. Now, if you don't know who he is before you lay down with him, the problem is you. You're not in your right mind. And when we're talking about these women who are, oh, he's abusing me, and there is no victims, ma'am. I've talked about this. I'm not going to sit here, and I've dealt with all kind of supposedly so-called battered women. And the problem is not him, it's her. Because the minute she changes her mind and she puts in her mind, hey, I deserve this. I deserve to be treated like this. I deserve happiness. I sleep in peace and I wake in peace. The moment she decides that, he's got to disappear. Either he's going to correct himself or he's going to disappear. That's how that goes. We always want to act like she's a weaker one, and he should be treated. She should be in her right mind. Because when she's in her right mind, then her life is going to change. Let me go into this, because we have been made to think that the male chooses the sex of the child. That ain't how that works. We've been lied to. And again, I'm just here to give you the facts. And I'm going to say this to you again. There's no such thing as a male sperm. All sperm are female, all of them. All of those mother cells in his scrotum, which are ovaries, they're female. And then they break down into two sister cells, not brother cells, not uncle cells, but sister cells. And then those two sister cells break down into 4 daughter cells, not son cells, not nephew cells, not brother cells, but daughter cells. And when those sperm go into her eggs, that is a female, which is where every male comes from. So what is it that causes him or causes that female vessel to become a male vessel? What causes the mitochondria to rip 1,300 genes from that X chromosome to turn it into a Y? What causes this? Well, the condition of the mother, partly. The condition of the mother. If she is not balanced mentally, spiritually, physically, then she's going to cause that child to go from a female to a male. She causes it because of the state of her mind. What's going on in her life? If she is in a relationship that she has allowed, not, or he just treated me like that. No, you allowed it. You're in a relationship where you getting beat up, or you not in the good job, or you not eating right, or whatever's going on. You hate your job, you hate the people around you, you don't like your family. She's the problem. Then she's going to be likely to cause that female to turn into a male. I'm going to say this again, and I've said it before. All males are a sign of a woman who was under duress. I'm going to say this again. All males are a sign of a woman who was under duress at the time of her pregnancy. All males come from chaos. A woman who's in turmoil. And I know y'all don't like it. This is upsetting. Why wouldn't they tell us this? Because a woman who knows who she is can now control the number of beings on this planet with her mind. Do I have any other questions? Sandra L. says, procreate, girl, you better say it. We stand in for them all the time. It's the woman that goes to the judge to help him out. Come on, y'all, feel this stuff. Truth is in your DNA, Mom. All right, do I have any questions? Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, Puke. The main book that I've spoken about, the book of Enki, the book of Jasher, Jasher. Jasher means uprighteousness. The book of Jasher is like a less tampered with version of the Bible. So let me say this. When you read, please read the Bible, because most of y'all, I get a lot of Christians be thumping the Bible. They never read the Bible. All right, but the Bible is fun reading. All right. Then when you read the book of Jasher, it's even better. That's one of my favorite books, the book of Jasher. Jasher. But when you read those two books and then you go read the book of Enki, you're going to get a whole bunch of questions answered about what went on in the Bible. Because both of those books come from the Book of Enki. The Book of Enki is going to answer so many questions that you thought about in the Bible. It's going to tell you about really what happened with Noah's Ark. It's going to tell you what really happened with the rib story, the apple story in the Garden of Eden, and why did God kick Adam and Eve out of it. It's going to answer a lot of questions. Read the Book of Enki. All right. Any other questions? I know I said a lot tonight. I did not mean to go that deep into that, the molecular side of it. Just wanted to make sure we understand what's going on. Once again, a recap tonight, talked about Sibyls and Oracles, women's roles in history, and the fact that these scriptures were written by women. We talked about the Masons and the fact that everything was in the name of the women. We're talking about, all the land, the wealth, the knowledge, everything. You name it, it was in her name. And that originally this was a matriarchal planet, matriarchal order. All right. One other thing that I want to get into is, when we ask about proof, like I said, I like to come with proof, science, etymology. I want to come into archaeology, historical documentation, biblical documentation. Now I want to get into some legal documentation. All right. Want to go into real quick, and I won't put it up on the screen, but the Iroquois Confederacy. The Iroquois Confederacy. Why is this important? Because when people say to me, well, there's no proof and there's no proof of matriarchy, you can go back. They're still in China. It's a small set now because, again, men have taken this over and written women out of history, because when you conquer something, then they're going to rewrite the history. But China, in Indonesia, and it's been wiped out of Africa. Whatever was over there, that's been wiped out. You find some women societies, but they're more so not from back in the day. They're more recent because they kicked the men out. That's different than what I'm telling you about. Originally, there were matriarchal societies. But I want to come into the Americas, because I told you about the Khalifa tribe and what we know of as North America. And I told you about the Amazon women and what we know of as South America. Now, let's get into this Iroquois Confederacy. What is the Iroquois Confederacy? Well, this is a documentation whereby the original people actually claimed ownership of the land. The original people of the land, they claimed ownership of the land. And I'm going to see if I can pull it up here and read it. But in that document, it's telling you the people who claimed, and by the way, the Iroquois Confederacy is the document which was the Constitution for the United States of America was created from. The original Constitution, the organic Constitution, was created from the Iroquois Confederacy. So I want to see if I can find it here. And then I'm going to read it real quick. All right. So basically, in this Iroquois Confederacy, what it's stating is that everything comes through the woman. Everything. She is the owner of it. All right. So in this, it's called Rights, Duties, and Qualification of Lords. All right. It says, and this one on this document, it's number 17. You can find 2 copies of the Iroquois Confederacy at UNARepublic.com docs, DOCS, UNARepublic.com/docs. So let me read this. It says a bunch of a certain number of shell, wampum, in brackets, strings, each 2 spans in length shall be given to each of the female families. Attention. In which the lordship titles are vested. I'm going to read that again so that you hear me clearly, so we understand legally that this land in the Americas, you're not even supposed to be getting it unless you go through a woman. Period. To this day, this land is still in the name of the women. And it is in accordance with this document, which precedes the Constitution. A bunch of a certain number of shells, wampum strings, each 2 spans in length, shall be given to each of the female families in which the lordship titles are vested. It goes on to say, the right of bestowing the title shall be hereditary in the family of the females legally possessing the bunch of shell strings, and the string shall be the token that the females of the family have the proprietary right to the lordship title for all time to come. Who didn't hear that? I'm gonna say it again. This is the second sentence. The right of bestowing the title shall be hereditary in the family of the females legally possessing the bunch of shell strings, and the string shall be the token of the females of the family. The females of the family have the proprietary right to the lordship title for all time to come. So once again, it always was the women. Everything always was theirs. And even when the people started coming into this land, the original people had already ordained who was the owner of the land. It is the women. Matriarchy was here before those who came into this land and started running roughshod over the original people. Sybils and Oracles. Those were the women who wrote those scriptures that are in the Bible, but she was taken out of her stories. And now it's his story. Any questions? Tiff says, can we buy it on Amazon? If you're talking about the book of Jasher, just download it. Do a Google search, PDF, and download it. Book of Enoch. Yeah, that's a good one. I think the book of Enoch, that's the one that talks about Noah, isn't it? And how when Noah was born, his father complained that he was light-skinned, like the gods, and was like, he took him to Methuselah and said, Dad, this ain't my son. Yeah, Book of Enoch. Thank you so much for these grapes. We appreciate you. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate the love. Thank you, Joseph. I really do appreciate the love, because I know when I say this information, some of my brothers get really angry with me. And brothers, I need y'all to know I love you. All right. There's no hate or disdain or desire to be disrespectful to you in any way whatsoever. I love you with all of me. But this truth has to be told if we're talking about really turning this society around, and the woman has to come out of her victim state and learn who she is. Ain't no more baby. Ain't no more of this, oh, somebody gonna save me, he gonna save me, I need a man because I need to be. You need to know who you are. And until you know who you are, don't expect this mess to get cleaned up. Don't complain about how that man hit you in your eye socket when you knew who he was before you got with him. Change your mind. Don't complain to everybody about what he's doing. Fix it by fixing yourself. I know that's hard. Why can't we Henry, if you want to keep asking me that question, I told you you're gonna have to wait, and then we'll get to that at another time. Pablo's theory of dog salvation. Marriage in law, he is to beat her and make her his slave. All right, Sandra L. I told y'all what marriage is. Thank you, MC Jumbo. Marriage was where the woman went in slavery to the male. And this was her punishment in accordance with universal laws. For the energy she put out on him, he was the sex slave first. And then it switched. What I tell you like this, it switched. She became the sex slave. She's the sex slave. Now she got to be barefoot and in the kitchen and pregnant. Universal law. I don't have to read what she did. I can see it because I see the energies. You getting your powers back, women. You gonna do it again? Melanated people, you're getting your powers back. You gonna do it again? You wanna be back here again? Okay, get your energies right. Red Rose says renewing of the mind is much needed now. That's correct, Red Rose. Thank you. What marriage in law is, he is to beat her and make her his slave. Sandra, I'm trying to understand what you're saying. All right, let me see. Do I have any other questions? Posh Lobby, thank you for the love and thank you for this suggestion. I hope I answered your question. I hope I spoke, gave you insight on what you were looking for. Let me know. If not, I would love to go in deeper if I need to. So is it okay to date woman? Astro, listen, I told you, when you're talking about sex, you're talking about a lower energy. We got to be up here. We got to get to the spirit side. I'm not telling you to have sex or not have sex. What I'm telling you is it is a lower vibratory energy. It is a carnal energy. And when you're dealing with carnal, you're going to find it very difficult to tap into spirit. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what the facts are. All right. Connect some dots. You were not in Salem, Massachusetts, when they were burning Caucasian women at the stake. They were trying to do what we were doing. They taught this in history. Thank you, Sandra. Okay. Salem, Massachusetts. And they were burning women. What story is this, if you don't mind, Sandra? Because I'm not familiar with them burning white women or Caucasian women, as you said, at the stake. What story is that? So I can do some research. Henry asked me the same question 20 times. I saw you, Henry. I told you you need to come back. I came in late. I'll have to catch the time. All right, Tiffany, glad you came. All right. So if I don't have any more questions, I'm ready to get out of here. I want y'all to know I love you. And I thank you all for doing your research. My brothers, thank you for doing your research. Thank you for being willing to grow spiritually. Because when you hear this knowledge and you know who you are, all right, then you got to grow. So I only gave you what the facts are that my research shows. If your research shows something different, please tell me so that I can look into it and we can have an intelligent conversation. All right. Don't knee jerk in here on this information. I know it's difficult to hear. I know that it seems like outrageous, but what do they say? The truth is stranger than fiction. And I'm letting you know, we are all spiritual beings. We were at one point existing on a different or a higher spiritual plane. And then some beings came in, and now we on this third dimension, and I'm a man, I'm a woman, and we think we're doing something when we're supposed to be teleporting and levitating and astro traveling and all this other stuff. But because we have no knowledge of self and we stuck in these vessels, we keep damning ourselves with the energies that we're putting out. Remember who you are, gods. Remember. All right, this is a new time. And now we have the right to create the dimension that we care to see. I want y'all to know I love you. I thank you. I appreciate you. We're going to see you all next Friday. All right. Stay loving people. All people. All people. Don't show bad energy to anybody, because at this time, that kind of energy is getting wiped out. Show love. Even when you want to hate on somebody, show love. Because whatever you put out is coming back. I want y'all to know I love you. I'm out. Diva Lyri, bye. I love y'all. Give me a hug. Where's my music? Wait a minute, my music. Bye, y'all. Give me a hug. I'm gonna see y'all next week.